Hello and happy April! This month is the month that spring semester opens for all those who attend Orillium Academy. This is my magical readathon TBR and vlog and wrap up all in one big video. If you don't know what the magical readathon is, it's a readathon hosted by G over at Book Gross. And it used to be Harry Potter themed, but with all the stuff that came out about J.K. Rowling, she kind of transferred it to her own thing, and she's made it so amazing over the past years. It's an absolute blast to participate and be a part of this, and I really love it. So, I am continuing with the character that I have had for the past couple years, and she is studying to become an Archmage. I have to complete 6 prompts, and something that she's added in over the years is this Guild Emporium, which you can buy like scrolls to kind of help you throughout the readathon with your guild reputation points that you earn throughout the readathon as well. So you get 50 points whenever you complete a semester, which it happens in April and September every year. And so I may be like using some of my points to tweak some of the prompts or count DNFs throughout the month. And that's a really fun aspect. It makes it feel kind of like a game. Like you can spend points to do this. And I've been saving up points. I've been like getting them every opportunity I can and saving them up. So I have a lot to spend if I need to. So we're going to go through the subjects that I need to study. The first one is for alchemy, and for this one I need to read a book where all the letters in the title are capitalized, and there were so many choices. Fantasy does this a lot, but the one that I'm going with is one that I've been meaning to start for like 2 months and haven't yet, and that's 12 Kings and Cherokee by Bradley P. Bolio. This is a desert fantasy, and I don't know a lot about it. I was really excited about it when it first came out, and I just haven't picked up the series since. And I'm excited to give it a try. I own the entire series, which I'm hoping is not a mistake. I'm hoping I love this. And it's like 600 pages, so very like average kind of fantasy level page-wise. And yeah, I'm excited to read this. It's a first in a series. I'm trying to read one big fantasy series this year, and I've chosen to try this one because the one that I tried in January was a flop. So, hoping that one goes better this month. Then, Inscription. This one was really fun. You needed to choose 3 books and read the first sentence of each book and pick from there. And I'm going to insert a clip of me doing that right now. Okay, here's chapter 1, sentence 1. I was born in 1927, the only child of middle-class parents, both English, and themselves born in the grotesquely elongated shadow, which they never rose sufficiently above history to leave, of that monstrous dwarf, Queen Victoria. That was a mouthful. I don't know how much I love it. This was written in 1966. Okay, I didn't know when it was written. Okay, book number 2. This is a short one. Chapter 1. The primroses were over. Book number 3. Book 1. Chapter 1. When Patricia was 6 years old, she found a wounded bird. Okay, the wounded bird. The primroses were over. Parents who couldn't get out from the shadow of Queen Victoria. All very different vibes. You know, I think out of all of them, the one that made me want to read further was The Primroses Were Over. Because I was like, wait, what do you mean the primroses are over? Like, they're over there? They're done for the season? So I think I've made my choice. And that book is Watership Down by Richard Adams. I've heard I'm going to cry, so I am bracing myself for sadness in this, but I'm really excited to read it. We just sold some of our bunnies, our baby bunnies, to a woman. She had adopted one, and she had actually named the one that she adopted from us Fiverr, after one of the bunnies in here, I believe, or a character in here at least. And so I'm like, oh, I've never read it, but now I'm going to know what the name Fiverr comes from. So as you could see from that video, I chose Watership Down, and we're a couple days in and I've already started this. I'm 118 pages in, and I have to say, I'm thinking of DNFing this. So we shall see if I buy a scroll of closure to just let me pass the class with a DNF. I might do that, or I may pick something else later in the month. I don't know, because I have a lot of big books that I'm hoping to get to, including this one. But 118 pages in, and I'm not really enjoying it. I'm finding myself being quite bored while reading it. And I'm also struggling with like the characters. There aren't really any female characters at all. The ones that are mentioned are just there to make bunny babies. If you didn't know, Watership Down is all about following rabbits. It is supposed to be very sad. I haven't gotten to that yet, but all the female rabbits do is make the burrows. They do the digging and they raise the babies, and that's all that they're good for. And the male rabbits are very much like leaving because one of the characters thinks something bad is going to happen in the burrow, and so they're all leaving and they're going to find like a new home, but they like need does because they need babies, and so they're going to like try to acquire does somewhere. And it feels very misogynistic in the way that Richard Adams chose to write it, and I'm not loving that part, and it's also a little bit boring. So I might give it a couple more chapters. I may put it down for a little bit and try to come back to it. I'm not sure what I'm doing there. So next is Artificery, and for this one, at the time that you were watching Jay's announcement video, you needed to check what time it was, and it was like 11 a.m. for me. So I need to pick a book that either had 11 words in the title or 11 letters in the title. And I went with 11 letters because I couldn't find anything with 11 words in the title. So I had two choices, and I'm going to go with the chunkier one of the two and use the other one as a backup in case I don't like this one. So the one I'm going with is The Rose Code. This is by Kate Quinn. This is a 600-page historical fiction all about World War II. And I think about like code breakers or spies in the 1940s, and it's like following women. I think it's sort of based on like true historical figures. My mom really liked it, and I think my aunt had read it at some point. So it comes with good recommendations. I've heard a lot about Kate Quinn as an author. I have a couple of her books like on my Storygraph TBR, so I'd like to try this. I've heard it's fast-paced. I do tend to read historical fiction pretty quickly, but with the rest of the TBR I got going on, I don't know why I think I can read so many like 500 plus page books in a month. So I'm going to try this one. I also have it on audiobook. So that might be the thing that saves me, is being able to like read it physically, and on audiobook will go very quickly. Then we had Spells and Incantations. So for this one, I needed to read a book that I had been planning to read with this month, which is perfect because I'm going to be a part of the Shelf This Book Club, which is hosted by Bailey at Is Bailey Reading. And this month, we're reading The Goblin Emperor, which is my choice. So I need to read this month, and then either at the end of the month or early next month, I'll do a live show with Bailey, and we'll just chat about how it went, if we liked it. And I'm really excited about this one because it's been on my TBR for years and years and years, and I'm excited to get around to it. And then for Spells and Incantations, I need to read a book where a word in the title is the same as a word that it was in the last book I'd finished when I watched that video. So I had read the graphic novel Woman World, and so I needed to find either a book with woman or world in the title, and I decided to go with Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentile. And this is on audiobook, and I've been listening to it and really enjoying it. I got to like 55% and something happened that like has me really on edge. It's kind of like a thriller, and it had a really strange setup and structure at first, but now I'm like super into it and I'm really enjoying it and really glad I stuck with it. So I'm going to be continuing with that one. And then my final book is for Conjuration. I did a random country generator. You got to do it 5 times, and you would pick one of the countries that popped up and read a book by an author from that country. At least that's how I did it, was author. And since I'm working mostly with books that I own, unfortunately, like, my choices are kind of limited as to what I could choose. I think I have like Swedish and Japanese, Chinese, Korean, American, Canadian, maybe Mexican, Chile. Like, I have like 7 countries represented on my current shelves as they are. And so I was doing the random generator, and I got a bunch of countries that didn't work. And then the last one I got was United States. So as boring as it is, I'm going to go with United States because I have a book that I can do it, which funnily enough is not from my shelves. It's actually from the library, but it's to help me get to another book on my shelves, and that is An Echo in the Bone by Diana Gabaldon. This is the 7th book in the Outlander series, and I have read this one years ago, but recently I've been watching the show. I had watched up through season 3, and so I was continuing, and I watched seasons 4, 5, and 6. That took me up through most of Breath and Snow and Ashes, which is the 6th book, and I was like, I don't remember anything that happens after the 6th book, and I only remembered one thing that happened in the 6th book. So I was like, maybe I should just reread An Echo in the Bone, because I'm going to be devastated when I don't have more of this series to read, because I think she's going to be finishing it. So there's 7, 8, 9. I think number 10 is the one she's writing, and that's going to be the last one, and I'm going to be devastated. So I thought, why not give myself the gift of reading this one again as if I'm reading it for the first time, because I do not remember what happens in this. And so I'm going to do it. However, this is almost 1,200 pages. 1,149 pages. And on top of all of these, every single one of these is over 500 pages, except for Watership Down, I think is like 480. Yep, 480 exactly. Well, Goblin Emperor is only 450. But like, all of these are over 400, and then I throw in an 1,100 page novel. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we'll find out. And I hope you'll stick around for this vlog as I attempt to read all of these things. So I will update you when I have some more thoughts, maybe on what I start next, or if I do decide to DNF this, or if I finish A Woman in the Library. I'll check back in with you. As I make my way through my books this month for the Magical Readathon, I am also going to be doing something that I've needed to do for a while, and that is frogging some crochet failures. So I've been really enjoying the knitting and crocheting content from Lizzie at Lizzie's Literary Life and Ruby over at Ruby Red, and it's been giving me the itch to get back into it. I actually just finished crocheting a hat, which I think turned out pretty well. I will say it's a little big for me, but I think that's okay, because if I ever want to put my hair up in like a bun, there's going to be like room for it. It's just a little beanie. I'll try to show it to you later in the vlog if I can. But I have 2 projects that I desperately need to frog, because one, I just don't like how it's turning out, and so I haven't continued on it in like 2 years. And then the other one, I crocheted last year. It's a sweater, and it doesn't fit, and I haven't worn it because it doesn't fit. It's just too big. So let me show you the sweater. So I love it. It's in this like dusty pinkish purple, and I really like how the sweater turned out. Like, it's so cute. But when I tell you that this goes down to like mid-thigh and it's like way too wide, like if I hold it up, like almost 2 of me could fit in this. Definitely like 1.5. And I've tried like belting it and it just looks too bulky and baggy. Like, I was hoping for like a sort of baggy sweater. What I got was something that was like massive. Even like the arms and like the sleeves like just don't work. And it's sad because this is the first sweater I ever crocheted. And so it's sad that it like didn't come out. But I think having it just like sitting on my shelf in my closet and me not wearing it is making me more sad than if I frog it and use like this yarn, which I love, find a different pattern, because I don't know if I want to do the same pattern again. I think I would get a little bored of that, and I might try a cardigan, because I feel like a cardigan might be a little bit more forgiving while I'm like working on sizing and stuff, because I had a feeling when I was crocheting this that it was too big when I was very early on, but I was like, no, just trust the process, it'll be okay. And it turned out too big. So I think I'm going to look for some patterns maybe. Well, I think a cardigan is going to be a little more forgiving, because a cardigan can be too long. It can be really big and baggy, and it's not an issue because it like can just lay open if it's too big. Whereas like a pullover like needs to have like the specific fit that you want. Like, it can't be too big or too loose, otherwise it just looks strange. So I'm going to be frogging this. This is going to take a long time. There's a lot of seams and stuff I'm going to have to undo, but I've been watching Stranger Things season 4 finally after many, many years. I wasn't sure if I would ever watch it, but we had Netflix and I finished rewatching. Well, I finished watching Outlander up through season 6, which is as far as I was going to go before reading the books again. And then now that I'm done with Outlander, I'm like, well, I want another show to watch now. So I was just looking to see if there's anything that really called to me. And Stranger Things season 4 was on there. It's a show that I watched with my sister and some friends and my brother. And I really enjoy it for the most part, though I have some qualms because you can definitely tell it's written by guys. So it's not always my favorite for that reason, but I think they're trying to be better. I think. I hate the way that they write Elle, and even like Max, I feel like they don't write her in a very kind or realistic way sometimes. So I am watching it because I love like the 80s vibe and the D&D vibe. I love, love, love. I hate all the Russian stuff. If you haven't seen season 3 or season 4, there's just Russian stuff and I hate it. I find it so boring. But I am really digging like a new character that they brought in, and I'm liking the conflicts that are going on in season 4. And yeah, so I'm hoping it'll kind of stick to the landing. I like that it's really leaning into the horror aspects of it too. That's really interesting. I'm getting way off topic. This is not a Stranger Things review video. So the other project that I need to frog was going to be a blanket, and I still want to make it a blanket. So I had a lot of random like skeins of yarn that I was like, this is so beautiful, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I kind of want to try making like a scrap blanket. So I had attempted doing this like blue, gray, green kind of blanket. I messed up when I started the pattern, so it kind of is just like a granny square but with 2 stitches, like 2 double crochet stitches. I don't know why I messed that up when I was first reading the pattern. It was supposed to be like a V, and the way I did it, it's not right. So I kind of messed that up, but I caught it too late and then I didn't want to like stop, and then I kept going, and I was like, you know, I'm working with yarns of like all different weights, so like the edges are really messy because my sizing is not perfect, and I'm not like loving the colors. Like this one especially, like I think it just doesn't work with all these like other like muted colors. I think it's like too bright. So I think what I want to do is frog this, probably take this color out of the mix, and maybe do like a hexagon blanket, because I was like, okay, if I can do like a hexagon and then maybe like pin all the hexagons so they like stretch out so they're the same size, and then I can kind of play around with placement later, because I'm not clearly like not the best. Like I was trying to be like random with it, like random lengths and stuff to make it look like wonky, but I think it's going to be better for me if I can like crochet all the hexagons and then play with the placement and then like attach them together. Even though like attaching them together is going to take forever and it might be like the worst thing ever to do at the end, I think it will be better than this, because like I said, I basically abandoned this for 2 years because I wasn't loving it. And to be honest, the stitches are kind of boring, just doing like double crochet space. So that gets a little repetitive for me, and I kind of want something a little different, kind of to stretch my abilities, I guess, in crocheting a little bit, because that's what I've been trying to do with like the sweater and stuff. Just do more complicated things, not just double crochet all the time. So those are the two things that I need to frog. It's going to be a lot of frogging, but then I feel like once I frog them, I can work on the pattern that I'm working on right now. I'm working on a shawl, and then when that's done, it's like I have a fresh, clean slate, and I can try one of these like bigger projects, probably a sweater, because I really want a sweater to wear, and I'm really sad that this one, like, I worked so hard on it and it didn't turn out, and I'm kind of upset, but it's okay because we're learning. So that's what I'm going to be working on with some crochet stuff during the month of April, and maybe if I actually like finish my shawl, or maybe I'll just show you my shawl later on and kind of talk about that as I'm also talking about the books. So hopefully you'll find that interesting. I know I've been enjoying all the knitting and crocheting content. I love it, and it's obviously been making me want to crochet and work on projects and make progress. Hello, I'm here with an update on how I've been reading. So I read a little bit more of this. I got to page 130, so not very far after I last updated you, and something very sad happened, and I realized that my heart can't take this book. I don't know if it was meant to be as sad as I took it, but it was so sad. And I just was like, I think there's more to come in this vein, and maybe worse. And this is the kind of sadness I don't want. It's the kind that just hurts me. I don't like it when animals get hurt in books. So I'm going to be done with that one. And then I started The Goblin Emperor, which I forgot over on my bed. I'm about 100 pages through it, and I'm really enjoying it so far, though I will say I have been struggling to read this past week. I've just been, I don't know, just not, it hasn't been my go-to thing. I have been watching The Traders UK, which is, I think, my favorite version of The Traders. I still have issues with the show a little bit, because I think they could make it a better show if they tweaked some of the rules. A lot of the rules that they have, I feel like, make it somewhat easy for the traders, where you could make it like actually really difficult for them, which I think would make it more interesting of a show. Kind of like if you've ever seen The Mole. The Mole on Netflix is a show where the trader has to actively like sabotage things, and so I've been watching The Traders, and that's been taking up some of my time. My allergies have been terrible, so sometimes I just find myself sitting on the couch and watching TV instead of picking up my book, but I am enjoying The Goblin Emperor. I think it's going to be a really interesting book to discuss because it's such an interesting world. The plot of The Goblin Emperor is that there's this young man, he's like 18, well, he's not really a man, he's half elf, half goblin, and he is not meant to be the emperor ever. His father is the current emperor, and he is like fourth in line or fifth in line for the throne. There's like many below him, and there's a accident, and his father and the successors to his father all died. Suddenly Maya, this 18-year-old half elf, half goblin boy, is the emperor, and he goes off to where the emperor lives and is like, what do I do? And there's some other like intrigue stuff going on behind the scenes. He's trying to kind of deal with political things in a thoughtful way, but he doesn't have the background as someone who would have, who is raised to be the emperor, which he was not. So it's been really good, and I'm only like a little bit of the way in, like 25% or less maybe, but I'm really enjoying it. I find it so enjoyable to read and so interesting. The world is very in-depth, and I'm just having a really fun time with it. And then I'm listening to The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, and I'm quite enjoying this one. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it on audiobook, but I'm digging it on audiobook. I think I'm like 30% of the way through it now, just about. So I've been making decent progress. I listen to it not that often, just usually like if I can't be doing something else, like driving, if I can't be reading physically, I'm listening to this like before bed and stuff like that. And I'm finding it enjoyable. It's about like 3 women who were code breakers in World War II, and I find that really interesting to like kind of learn how they did break the code. The one thing I will say is that sometimes historical fiction that's like centered around really important historical events, it feels like the characters are like made for the historical event rather than the characters feeling real and the historical event happening around them and to them and alongside them. So I will say that like I'm not super strongly attached to the characters. I'm just kind of listening, and I'm enjoying the historical aspects, but I don't feel like I'm like loving it or super attached to the characters or anything. They feel like a flimsy structure for us to learn about this really interesting like historical thing that had happened. But I'm having a good time, so I can't complain that much about it, and I'm glad that I'm listening to it on audiobook. I think that's a great way to kind of get through this because it is like a 600-page book, so it's much chunkier than it looks. It does not look like 600 pages. So I'm definitely enjoying that, and I'm thinking I will try to check out more of her work as long as it stays as interesting as it has been, but it's been a nice read. So this is finished. This is one of my classes for inscription, and then I'm working on artificery and art of illusion. So I'm, making my way through those. I also finished Spells and Incantations, the Woman in the Library. And I have to say I was a little disappointed by how it all wrapped up. I did not find either of the parts that I was interested in to wrap up in a very satisfying way. So I think I ended up giving it like a 3.5 because I do think that the lead up to everything was very interesting. And there was, I think I said, one particular part that was really interesting. But everything just kind of like wrapped up, and I was like, oh, okay. I was expecting something like mind-blowing, I guess, because I thought it was really clever the way she was kind of structuring her novel, and so I was expecting like, oh, this ending is going to be really good. And then it just kind of, everything wrapped up, and I was like, okay. I had kind of hyped myself up, like, this is going to be, like, the best ending, because it was a really intriguing thing that was, like, happening in the novel. And that just didn't come to fruition, so that's probably somewhat my expectations kind of at fault for not living up to those, which my expectations shouldn't maybe have been that high, but they just were because of what was happening in the novel. So I don't want to say this is like a bad book, but I think that like I had expected it to really stick the landing, and it was just fine for me. It kind of read to me like a Nancy Drew mystery or something, where it's just like, oh, okay, like we kind of figure out everything that happens, and there's not really any like questions or anything super crazy that happens. It just wraps up. So that was okay, but that means I have finished 2. I am going to need to use a scroll, because this was a DNF, to pass that class. And then The Woman in the Library finishes up Spells and Incantations, and then I'm working on Artificery, and then The Goblin Emperor is for Art of Illusion. We are definitely making really good progress, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get to the 12 Kings of Sharakai, as well as An Echo in the Bone. So we still got some chunkers to go, so we're just going to keep pushing through.
My horizons are rising up to see. I'm finding out just fine who I am. I'm looking out of my own desert home, checking all those creatures passing by. And as the way back to your heart widens all the time, it's the first soft light of the shy desert morning that reminds my blood to come.
Hello. You'll have to forgive me if my voice goes a little croaky, because I took a nannying position and 4 days with a toddler, a sniffly toddler. I have a cold now. So, but I wanted to do an update because I finished 2 books, and so I wanted to not leave the update too long and kind of talk about them while they're fresh in my mind. So last night I finished The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. I have to say I really enjoyed listening to this. I listened to the whole thing. I didn't even pick up the physical book at all. I just listened to it because I was busy with my other physical read. And so this took me a while to get through, but it is like 600 pages, so that's not shocking. I mostly listen to it like before bed, so I'd get like maybe an hour a day, so it doesn't surprise me that it took a long time. But I will say this wasn't like a knock out of the park best book I've ever read, but I did really enjoy it. I think that the code breaking that happened during World War II, especially like Bletchley Park, which is focused on in this book, and the Enigma machine and stuff like that, is very fascinating to me. I love the idea of like being a part of this like crazy code breaking scheme. They couldn't tell anyone about it. They were like sworn to secrecy, and it was really engaging. I will say there was a bit of like past and present stuff going on, and it took a while for me to really get what was happening, like why we were talking about the past and the present. But once we did, I cared about both of them. But for a while, I only cared about like the past. And listening to it on audiobook, I have to say I would forget who the characters were, and it's probably because I was listening to it before bed, so I was like sleepy. But sometimes I'd forget who the characters were, especially like the guys, and like who they were like maybe dating or having some romance with which girl. But that didn't stop me from enjoying it. I think overall I'm going to give this a 4 stars, and this was for my prompt where I had to read a book with 11 letters in the title. So I finished this one. I'm happy that I got to it this month. And the other book that I finished is the Shelf This Book Club picked by me for April. So I'm going to be talking about this with Bailey from Is Bailey Reading. This is a Goblin Emperor. This is the book that I chose because I'd been planning to read it in April. There was a prompt for that, I think Art of Illusion. So I read this one. It took me a long time to read it, mostly because I started a new job. So like a week and a half, I really wasn't reading that much. But I finally finished it, and I'm not going to tell you too much about my thoughts because I want you to go watch the live show and you can see me and Bailey discuss it and have a good time talking about it, because I do have a lot to say about it. And then I'm going to be starting 2 things. So my physical read is going to be this guy, The 12 Kings of Sharakai by Bradley P. Bolio. This is going to be my next attempt at reading one big fantasy series in 2025. I tried reading Kate Elliott's Crown of Stars series, and I ended up DNFing the first book. I have this entire series on my shelves, 7 books, so I'm really hoping that I enjoy it. It sounds really interesting. It's like a desert fantasy, which I kind of love that vibe right now. I think it'll be a really good vibe to read, and I'm hoping I like it. So I plan to start this tomorrow. And then this evening, I'm starting in on An Echo in the Bone by Diana Gabaldon. I have the audiobook that I'm going to be listening to. This book is massive. The audiobook is like 46 hours. This is like 1,150 pages of tiny font. So, and this is like, I got this because I want the physical book to read, because I do enjoy reading these books physically, but this is not the most comfortable version to read, with it being so chunky. So I got the audiobook to kind of get me started, because this doesn't have an audiobook. So I'm going to read this one physically, audiobook this one until I'm done with this one, and then maybe pick this up physically to like try to finish it off, because it's April 16th right now. So I have 2 weeks to finish like 1,700 pages, which is doable, but I haven't been the best at reading. Having a job makes it so that it takes up more of my time compared to not having a job. And it's a job where I can't really listen to audiobooks unless the older boy is gone and the toddler's down for a nap, but that happens very rarely. And even then, there's usually some things like I want to kind of like tidy up and stuff. So be a good worker and not just sit and read and try to get paid for reading. So I'm not reading during those times, but then I have been watching a lot of TV, though I've finished, I think, most of the things that I was really truly interested in watching. So I think I'm trying to like not watch as much TV, maybe just watch YouTube every once in a while, and then focus on reading a little bit more, because it's been a little iffy the past couple weeks. So these are the 2 that are left to read, and then I will be done with my Orillium reading, and then I can move on to other things if I wanted to. So we're gonna get this done. Alright, I'm back, and I have completed my chunkers just in time for the end of the spring equinox semester. Today is April 30th. I just finished this one this morning. I finished this a couple of days ago. Let's talk about what I thought about them. So we'll start with this one. So I thoroughly enjoyed this fantasy novel. I wouldn't say that it's a favorite yet, but this series could become one of my favorites. I really enjoyed the world and the magic and everything that's set up in this world. What I'm having trouble with is the actual execution of the writing. And I think that in the author notes, like at the back, the acknowledgements, the author, Bradley P. Bolio, talks about how he has never attempted anything this large. And I think I could feel that when I was reading, because through most of the novel, I was really into it. There was a little bit of slowness in the middle, but I was getting like there. then when he tried to have things actually happen, things weren't handled in a way that really had me on the edge of my seat, but I think the author wanted me to be on the edge of my seat. And there's something that happened in here that felt way too easy. I was like, I thought we were going to be 6 books deep before that happened. It just felt like it was simple. There were some things that just felt a little too obvious that were supposed to be like secretive. And it was like, well, it's really obvious from what we're referencing that that's what would happen. And so the character development was fine, but like what the characters wanted wasn't always clear. Or I would go, this is what they say they're wanting, but I'm not buying that they actually want that based on their actions. Like the actions and what they were saying they wanted weren't meshing. So that was a little bit of an issue for me. But overall, I enjoyed it. I am excited to continue on in the series. I want to continue on next month, maybe. And I'm excited about where the series could go. And I could see the author like improving on all those things I took issue with. And overall, I think this is a very solid like 4-star. Like I enjoyed this book. Another very enjoyable read was actually a reread for me of An Echo in the Bone by Diana Gabaldon. Rereading this was great because I had forgotten so much and I really needed that refresher of actually reading it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I forgot so much about what happened and a lot happened in this book. I didn't give it like a full 5 stars because there were just some times where I felt like things were slow and there were some points of view that I really was quite bored at for most of the book, and they got more interesting as time went on, but I'm still not sure why we focused so much on them. And I really want to pick up the next book sooner rather than later because of where this left off. I was like, oh my gosh, now I remember why I could not wait for Written in My Own Heart's Blood to come out, because there's a huge cliffhanger on one of the storylines that's really intense. So those are my final reads. I read this for Alchemy, I think, for capital letters in the title. And then this was for Conjuring, which was random country generator. And I took the easy route of US because that's what I had available. So I'm so excited to be done with those and to be wrapping up another semester. I just think this readathon is so fun. I look forward to it every 6 months or so when it comes out. I'm very much looking forward to September. If you have read any of these books or have any thoughts about what I should be prioritizing in the next few months, please let me know. I'm always looking for great recommendations. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!